right, let's take a look at the first of this line that I was able to get my hands on. This is a look at He-Man from Turtles of Grayskull. What? When it comes to toy companies shamelessly making items that are clearly just aimed at guys like me, middle-aged guys that grew up in the 80s and 90s, I'm typically on board, but I also kind of roll my eyes at myself, because while I feel like these are shameless attempts by the toy companies, I myself am ashamed that I am always all about these things. When I heard about this crossover line between Masters of the Universe and Ninja Turtles, I was, giddy. I was excited about it. I saw the images of the figures, and I was, yes, like I have to have all of them. And at the same time, a little voice inside my head is saying, "You idiot! You're just going to go out and buy anything that's colorful and pays tribute to the properties that you loved when you were younger." And this might be the grossest example of it yet, because it's clearly so random to put these two properties together, and yet here this guy is in my basement, and I have 3 other of the figures in the mail on their way to me. One of the reasons why I thought this was such a clear example of it too is that I was like to myself, how are they even going to bother coming up with a mythology that makes sense for these two toy lines to cross paths? And I said to myself, whatever they come up with is going to be so shallow and shooting from the hip that it's going to be ridiculous. And this is how much of a sucker I am. I read this tiny little sentence or a couple sentences here, and I was like, oh, that's actually good enough. I'm on board. What happens when the most powerful man in the universe is doused with mutagenic ooze from another dimension? Nothing good. With He-Man now a mindless pawn in Skeletor's hand, will this be the end of Eternia? Awesome. By the way, these have Mattel's name all over them, and Playmates is nowhere to be seen. I don't really know how that worked, but anyway. And the comic inside is pretty awesome. By the Power of Pizza. I have to read this. All right, so he is fun. Right off the bat, the nicest thing about the figure to me is that most of him he's not exactly opaque. The torso, his legs and arms, his face, the majority of the figure is this slightly transparent kind of plastic, almost see-through. Like he looks like he's made of, I don't know, like a frosted something, jelly. What am I saying? It looks like he's made of a purple popsicle. How about that? For the most part, the articulation and the mold, he's very much more Masters of the Universe than he is Ninja Turtles, but he is more out of proportion. The arms are really oversized. I love the veins picked out, and that's a mean face sculpt. The headband is a nice touch, and he does come with this giant mace weapon, and it is cool to get an angry, evil He-Man. I'm already having visions of a new display setup where I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures slowly sort of blending into Masters of the Universe figures with these guys in the middle. And that is just a quick look at He-Man from the Turtles of Grayskull toy line. Next up, we'll look at Leonardo from the Turtles of Grayskull line, and with a quick shout out to my nephew Leo, for whom this is his favorite Ninja Turtle, for obvious reasons, but no, he was not named after the Ninja Turtle. Or maybe he was, I don't know. And this is the first of the 4 turtles that I've gotten for the line. If I didn't mention it in the last video, I really do love the packaging. Really bright, eye-catching things. It's a shame I don't keep boxes, because I'm regretting it. Maybe I'll get a second one of each. And because it's amusing to me, an explosion from the Technodrome sends the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles across dimensions to Eternia. Now augmented with tech from Man-at-Arms Armory, Leonardo leads his brothers into battle for the power of Grayskull. like a barbarian Leo, and I'm digging it. The armor on him has got a slight kind of metallic shine to it, which is really, really cool. I love the shearling on the back of his shell. He's looking very regal, as he should. Is this posable? This rotates. That's kind of cool. The swords can be stored on the back of his shell, and they really did have fun with the design of the swords. Come here. It's a fairly simple design, but it is a beautiful kind of meshing between Leonardo's katanas and the power sword from Masters of the Universe. And they did mold these so that they can be clipped together to form what the back of the box calls the power katana. The arm pads are a bit bulky. They kind of impede posing a little bit, and this one was kind of difficult to squeeze on there. The construction, or like the tension on some of the joints on these figures isn't the best. When I was forcing that on, he popped apart at his waist. But again, that's hardly a criticism, or at least it's something that I can easily stomach, because this guy is very, very displayable, and gets me more excited for additional figures in this line, a couple of which I already have in the mail, but even moving forward, I'm gonna have to get all of these. That is just a quick look at Leonardo from Turtles of Grayskull. All right, let's keep it going because I got a couple more in the mail. We'll take a quick look at Donatello from the Turtles of Grayskull line. And since I haven't said it yet, I will now. The choices of characters from each respective line that they're choosing to cross over has been, for the most part, pretty intuitive and pretty satisfying. I mean, Trapjaw with a Mouser makes perfect sense, and now we're looking at Donatello done up to look like Man-at-Arms, which again makes perfect sense. Two guys that do machines. And to add to that, crossing dimensions isn't so bad. Not if you're Donatello and strike up a friendship with Man-at-Arms. When these two tech geniuses put their minds together, they create turtle-inspired Eternian armor to combat Krang's mutants. And then we have some nice artwork on the back here with Donatello doing battle with who I can only presume is Beastman. And I know I'm only, 4 figures in, but I think it's safe to say that for me, though, so far, Donatello is the purest example of what this crossover should be, can be. Put simply, it's because it's obviously Donatello, but the design elements that are Man-at-Arms are also very, 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 very clear. The chest armor with this panel here, the arm cannons, the helmet, which is molded on, that can't come off, and the weapon is great too. It's a mace like Man-at-Arms with a turtle shell on top, but it also incorporates in the bow staff. Just like Man-at-Arms, some of the armor pieces don't stay on too securely, but whatever. The other cool little feature on this guy is that the shell can be removed, and his shell is a shield. And what's nice is that they even took the little extra step of molding in shell panels on the back of Donatello even after his shell shield has been removed. And I say he's the purest example of what this line could and should be is because if you put him next to Leonardo, it's just so obvious that one of them is much more, to me anyway, it's much more obvious that Donatello is part of the Masters of the Universe motif or universe, whereas the Leonardo figure, with the exception of the slightly redesigned katana of power, and the fact that they have the chest plate with an L on it as opposed to an H, this could just be a strange, cool iteration of Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles line. It doesn't have to be a crossover figure. This guy feels a little bit more like Donatello's is definitely paying homage to Man-at-Arms. I don't think that's up for discussion. I love all the figures in this line so far, don't get me wrong. And that is just a quick look at Donatello from the Turtles of Grayskull line. Only fitting that after we looked at Donatello, we take a look at Man-at-Arms from the Turtles of Grayskull line. And I really wanted this figure to be great because I love Man-at-Arms. One of my favorite toys as a kid, one of my favorite characters. I love the traditional green and yellow combo on him. So was very, very pumped about getting this version of him. Let's read. And the art up here is of him versus Whiplash, I think. Anyway, with He-Man missing, Man-at-Arms knows all of Eternia is vulnerable to Skeletor's nefarious schemes. Fortunately, he meets 4 heroic brothers, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Together, they can save the universe. All right. Though at first glance in the packaging, I was afraid not enough was going on with him to sort of, I don't know, come across as an appropriate crossover of both toy lines. But out of the package, he does a little bit better than I first thought. The helmet is molded onto him, even though pieces of it are kind of malleable. The forearm armor here, you do have to slip on. It comes separate from him in the packaging. Again, it's subtle, but there's nods to the Turtles everywhere. This knee pad, this shoulder, the big one being the shell on the back, which is kind of my favorite part. The colors are nice. They're darker tones, but they still pop. And this back piece has the same function as Donatello's, which it comes off and it is a shield. And the mace / bow staff weapon, I think it's literally exactly the same one as Donatello came with. Let me see. Nope, I lied. Similar, but not the same. And of course, a lot of the design elements of the armor are very similar on these two guys, so there's sort of a natural aesthetic kind of kinship between these two. So there they are together, looking great. So yeah, I would say this version of Man-at-Arms does just enough to sort of warrant its existence in this crossover line. And that is just a quick look at Man-at-Arms from the Turtles of Grayskull line. Mouser plus Trapjaw equals Mousejaw. Not the cleverest of names, but let's take a look at Mousejaw from Turtles of Grayskull, which I surprisingly found out in the wild at a local Target. I say surprisingly because I live right outside of Philly, and it doesn't matter if you're looking at Walmarts or Targets or wherever else, they never have their shelves stocked, let alone with things that I think would probably be very, very hard to find anywhere right now in stores, but I could be wrong. Either way, I saw this on the shelf at Target and of course had to grab it. And I love that we're getting a Build-A-Figure, which looks like Metalhead. And this is kind of a deluxe figure. There's a lot of pieces in here. Oh, nice artwork. And let's read and enjoy the makeshift mythology here. Unbeknownst to him, Trapjaw was the first of Krang's ooze experiments, the cybernetic walking weapon of destruction fused with Baxter Stockman's Mouser technology, making him a mindless minion in Skeletor's mutant army. Before we take a look at the figure, on the inside flap of the side of the box, it showcases that the Mouser that you can build, you can also take apart and combine. There's a very colorful cardboard backdrop in the box with a comic. Nope, I lied. It's not a comic. It is just kind of like a trading, I don't know, just like a display card. This is a fun version of Trapjaw and a lot going on. Okay, first, you do get a little mouser in the pack, who's, for being such a simple little like pack-in, is stylized and cool. And trap, well, mouse trap, no, mouse jaw. Wait a minute. Yeah, mouse jaw. Sorry, not mouse trap. A really colorful, colorful figure with some interesting design aspects. For example, his robot arm does look like a mouser itself, just kind of reconfigured. He comes with the cannon here. He comes with, whoops, with a simple little like claw hand, as well as an axe. So those are all interchangeable, and they also are listed as pieces that you need to create the Build-A-Figure, on top of which you also get another robotic arm, which I guess you could plug in to mouse jaw, but it's listed on the box as being the arm you need to build the other figure, as well as this little nondescript piece. And you also get like a flaming fireball kind of effect, which is something. I'm never really a fan of the like projectile effect pieces, little pieces of plastic that are molded to look like explosions. Still getting used to the white on him, but it is cool. It's striking. And this version of mouse jaw, trap jaw, whatever, does have the movable jaw, and I love that little touch on his belt there. All right, and lastly, let's combine these. Having a mouser as his arm, that's pretty awesome. I don't know what purpose the legs on either side of his belt would serve, but this is what it says to do. This line is crazy, and I love it. And that is just a quick look at Mouse Jaw.